2nd, you can begin your presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, well, hello everyone. Can everyone hear me well? I guess so. Okay. My name is Milton LeBlanc. I'm a senior procurement specialist with the Department of Procurement Services of the City of Chicago. And as you can tell, I spend my time writing, developing RFPs and bids, and not much time I should spend more time playing around the different screens here, but we'll get you going. Okay, let me move this up. Next slide, so we can get started. On slide, move up. There we go. Here we are. Okay, the first slide talks about different tips for finding bid opportunities. Bids are valued over $100,000 and are publicly advertised in the Chicago Tribune as of October 12th. They are also posted weekly and can be downloaded from City of Chicago DPS website. They also posted in 103 City Hall. I will also encourage you, I think I can cover this, to look at our buying plan, which actually tells you what the city intends to buy within the next 18 months. That include professional services, supplies, equipment, all that the city is interested in buying. Now, attend the pre-bid conference. Now, we're holding the pre-bid conferences online for new solicitation, new RFPs, and new bids. And it's important to attend because you get to meet other vendors within your specialty, and you guys can subcontract, you can partner. It's a great opportunity to network. So pre-bid conferences are advertised on our website for any solicitation that the city has. It's a great opportunity to meet other vendors, to network with other vendors, potential bidders where you can subcontract or act as a prime. Okay, and then the bidder takeout list also lets you know which vendors have taken out or have requested a copy of the bid. Again, it's an opportunity for you to learn and to know other people, other vendors within your area of expertise, and you can also network with them if you know who they are and if they're applying for a specific solicitation that you might be able to subcontract with them or just be a prime that can subcontract with you. So it's important to work with other vendors and take advantage of those networking opportunities. Okay, we're going forward, we're going backwards. All right. Now we're going to talk about the difference between an RFP and a competitive bid. This is important. Okay. An RFP is a procurement method where the City of Chicago, in this case, hires a consultant for specific projects, okay, in professional services. The RFPs are project specific. As an example, if the city needs to conduct audit of a specific program, they'll probably put out an RFP for auditors. Usually the city doesn't have enough technical expert to handle specific issues, specific professional services issues. So the city will put out an RFP and hires in order to contract with a consultant who can provide the services. Okay? A competitive bid is a little different. A bid is a method of procurement where the city uses to purchase supplies, equipment, maintenance, or repair services, and construction. So an RFP will be for professional services. A bid, if the city wants to buy, I don't know, desks, computers, or want computer repair services, or whatever the city needs to buy that's not a professional service, the city will bid for that service. Okay. The bid will have a detailed bid specification. Okay, it will be very specific. The city will tell you, I need 10 vendors to go into the different city locations to repair X amount of computer terminals, and they have to do it by within a 20-day period, and there'll be X amount of dollars available. Okay, the bid will be very specific. While an RFP would be general, because an audit might take a week, might take 2 weeks, might take 3 weeks, depending on the professional service or the problem entailed. A bid is more specific. The city knows how long, or estimate how long it will take. Same to the construction. The city having constructed a new structure, the city will know more or less how long the construction time should be. So your bid document will tell you, okay, how much time the city expects you as the vendor, as the contractor, to spend doing this particular construction, or repairing some services, or providing some equipment. Okay. The proposal pages or line items on the bid will tell you the measures, specific or estimated quantities. Okay. The bid is very specific, and RFP is more general. Okay. So let's go to the next slide here. Again, to reiterate what's different between an RFP and a competitive bid. The bid specification details every aspect of a product or services. An RFP defines project objectives and scope of services parameters, but does not specify in detail every aspect of how to accomplish or perform the required services. The city seeks proposals from qualified vendors detailing the proposed plan to implement and complete the project. Okay, it's just more formalized way of repeating what I just tried to explain to you. Okay, an RFP entails detailed evaluation of proposal by an evaluation committee based on the evaluation criteria published in the RFP. The EC is comprised of various stakeholders, departments. So, when an RFP is published, okay, the city requests proposals from different vendors. Okay, let's keep on using the accounting services. Okay, the audit services example. Okay, so the RFP will go out. So you put an RFP out. We need accountants to provide auditing services for the city for various different departments. When the proposal are due, okay, the proposal coming to the city will create an evaluation committee, which means people with employees in the city with expertise in auditing who are going to review the proposals. The EC committee will go through an evaluation process where proposals are reviewed and scored, and say there are 10 proposals submitted, and usually there will be a short list of the top 3 proposals that the evaluation committee will decide to bring in to negotiate. Okay, so the RFP entails a detailed evaluation of proposal by an evaluation committee. In contrast, for a competitive bid, the contract award is the lowest responsible responsive bidder that meets city specification based on department review of bid tabulations and recommendation of award. Say the city put out a bid to buy, let's say, a new phone system. Okay, just a new phone system, right? Okay, the bid will state that the city needs to buy 300 phones and will say the functions that the phones should have. Different vendors will submit bids to the city. Provided that each vendor that submits a bid is responsible and responsive, meaning that meets the criteria of the bid, the city will select usually the lowest bidder, okay, based on a review of the bid tabulation. Okay, it's a critical difference. The RFP, we're going to evaluate you, we're going to look at the quality, the people involved, the qualifications of your subcontractors. All that entails review by the evaluation committee for an RFP. On a bid, we're buying the same product. We're buying phone systems, right? So unless something different, the city will select the best price or the lowest price vendor based on the bid tabulation. Okay? Last point on the page, for an RFP, the vendor selection is to the highest rated or ranked responding to the RFP, not the lowest price. Price, which in an RFP can always be negotiated. Okay, big difference. Competitive bid, lowest price. On RFP, you can negotiate the price. Okay, we're going to skip this here, but we don't have a sample RFP. But if you contact me in email, I could send you a sample RFP so you can go through this segment. The second bullet point here that is RFP content is standardized. In other words, depending on the project, okay, the city funded or state funded or federal grant funding, the RFP, what content that has to go into the RFP is standard. Okay, all RFPs require the same backup documents if they are city funded or state funded or federal grant funded. Depending on the funding, the document that you require to provide with the RFP will be governed by the funding source. MBE, WBE, and DBE goals. These are very important. The City of Chicago encourages vendors, contractors to provide MBE and WBE participation within their proposal for city-funded projects. Okay. Some federal grants required a certain percentage of the grant money to be allocated for disadvantaged business enterprise. Okay. The DBE goals, local preference terms, will be removed if the grantor, which might be the city, the state, or federal, does not want that in the particular grant. How does that work? Let's say the city receives a grant from the Department of Transportation to repair bridges. Okay, the grantor, okay, which would be a federal grant for the Department of Transportation, may require, in order to provide a grant for the city, that the monies that are provided, a certain percentage of that money must be allocated, okay, to an MBE, minority business enterprise, a WBE, a women's business enterprise, or a DBE. Let's say the funds provided by the federal government, grantor to the city to fix our bridges, is $100. Within that grant, the federal government grantor might require the city or the city subcontractor, a vendor like yourself, to have 25%, to hire 25% of the people that will be working on this bridge repair project to be minority businesses. Okay? So that's how the MBE, WBE, DBE goals work. Okay? It is based on the grantor, which can be state, federal, or the city. Any of those projects might require specific MBE, WBE, or DBE goals, so you must be aware of that. Right. Next slide, the e-procurement electronic proposals. The city has migrated to e-proc proposal. Okay, we used to have a lot of hard copy, hand proposals delivered to the city, bid and bond room, and then we go to them and review the hard copy. We no longer do that. Okay, proposal must be electronically submitted. They must be word searchable. Okay, that should be organized in the subject matter sequence as required content of the proposal section of the RFP, which means we're going to go over that a little bit later. The RFP will tell you specifically the sequence, the order in which you must submit your proposal documents. Okay? Again, we'll speak about that a little further later on. Proposal must be clear, concise, and well organized. That should be evident. And finally, a redacted proposal must be submitted. What does that mean? When you submit your proposals to the city in response to an RFP, sometimes you're required to submit some sensitive documents. The RFP might require you to tell us your key staff, to send key staff resumes. What happens sometimes in people's resumes, sometimes they include their social security number, their addresses, their telephone number, and We don't want to see that, okay? So after you submit your proposal in response to the RFP, we also ask you to submit a redacted proposals, which means any sensitive information that cannot be made public or should not be made public should be removed from the proposal that you submit to the city, okay? A redacted proposal means that any sensitive information, personal information, bank account numbers, social security numbers, people addresses, should be removed from a redacted proposal that you will submit to the city in response to the RFP. It's very important to remember that. Okay, you don't want the personal information of all employees, staff, contractors to be available to be published in the city. And that is important. Let me go back to this. A redacted proposal is important because after the city awards a contract in response to an RFP, the city posts all proposals that were submitted in response to their RFP. So the city will post a redacted proposal, okay, of an awarded RFP, and we don't want sensitive information to be on that proposal. So that's why we require a redacted proposal to be submitted in response to an RFP. Okay, next slide. Okay, here we're going over the content of an RFP. And each content is important. None is more important than the other. So I don't know how to stress this enough. If you submit your proposal in response to an RFP and you do not have the content as required by the RFP, your proposal might be rejected. And that is, you don't want to put in all that work and just miss a specific content and then your proposal is rejected. So it's good to know what's required and ensure that you submit everything that's required. Number one, a cover letter. You got to have a cover letter with your proposal. And now it sounds elementary, but we require a cover letter. What the cover letter says, it has to say the RFP that you're responding to. It has to also note whether or not you receive or you've seen actually any addendum to the RFP, okay? A general introduction to your firm, to the city. Okay, it doesn't have to be long, or it could be a page, okay? But it has to have those critical information, okay? Your name, your company's name, the RFP responding to, and very, very, very important, a contact person, okay? Phone and email, very helpful. You know why? Because if I get your proposal or potentially get your proposal, and just looking through the proposal, we say, okay, this vendor did not submit, say, the third item from the bottom, an EDS. Now, if we have the information on the cover page, most of the time, we'll call you, say, hey, you failed to submit the EDS, okay? And the CPO might waive the deadline to allow you to submit your EDS. If you do not have that information on your cover letter available to us, we cannot contact you. So in your cover letter, you must have a contact person with a name, number, and email address. And the contact person does not have to be the same person who signed the letter. Does not have to be the president of the firm. It must be someone that can be contacted if any issues are found on the proposal, okay? The contact person does not have to be the same signatory of the cover letter, okay? The cover letter used to be signed by the president or the CEO of the company, but the contact person is the person that we can contact if there's any issue with the proposal that's submitted. An executive summary is a summary of your firm from the executive level. You give us a snapshot of what your firm is and what it's about. Again, you'll be responding to a specific RFP, so we need an executive summary of your firm. Number 3 is professional qualifications and special experience of respondent and team members. Again, here we want you to detail, okay, the qualifications and experience of people on your team, okay, that are responding to the RFP. This is different from the item number 4, which is special experience of key personnel. Item number 3, we want to know about your firm in general, what qualify you are, okay, as a firm. Item number 4, we need to know the qualification of people that are going to be specifically working on the specific RFP you're responding to. Okay, there's a difference, right? Your firm might be a great firm at repairing computers, but then the RFP might be requesting someone who can write software. Okay, so number 4 would tell us that your key personnel can do software, write software, and number 4 would tell us the general qualifications of your firm. Okay, one is general, one is very specific. The 5th item is the implementation of work plan. Yes, we want to see how are you going to do the work that we requested. Okay, you're going to detail to us, okay, the steps that you're going to take on your work plan to do the work that we're asking for on the RFP. The cost proposal. I mentioned before that cost on RFP is a negotiable item. But there should be some general guidelines. There should be market pricing. Okay, the city will negotiate the best prices that it can get. So the cost proposal is important because you want to tell us, okay, how much you will charge the city to do the particular work that we're asking for. Okay. Next is the MBE, WBE, or DBE plan. Okay, those are specific forms within the RFP document where you're going to detail to us your MBE, WBE, or DBE plan. Like I mentioned before, many or most funding sources, grantors, that is the city, the state, or federal government, usually require some sort of MBE, WBE, or DBE plan. Okay, but we have a specific form on the RFP and tells you how to provide the information that we need for those. Financial statements. We want audited financial statements for 3 years or equivalent. Okay, how does that work? We want to know that you're in sound financial stance. Okay, we usually do not specify what types of financial statements, either audit reports, if you're a new vendor, sometimes bank statements, sometimes other type of financial reports. We don't tell you which reports to submit, but it must be reports that show us, the city, 3 years or equivalent of financial activity for your firm. Okay, so that's important to your financial statement. Again, we don't specify which statements, but you have to show us at least 3 years of financial statement. That means that your firm is in good financial standing. The online economic EDS statement and certificate of filing affidavit, or EDS. This is the form, okay, that you file within our website. Okay, the EDS, what it does tell us is the ownership structure of your organization. Okay, we want to know who owns your company, who are you a sub of, and we want to know the details. Okay, if a form that's online and there's instruction on how to complete it, it's not a difficult form, but that we need to know that, which is the ownership structure of your organization. Legal actions. We want to know what type of legal actions your firm has been involved in the past 5 years. It doesn't matter what type of action it is. We just want to know. Okay, so it's important for us to know any legal entanglement that your firm has been involved in for these 5 years prior to submitting your proposal in response to an RFP. Last one is insurance. The RFP always tells you the level or the amount of coverage that you need if awarded the contract. Now, the way this works, the RFP is published, you prepare your proposals, and you submit it in response to the RFP. You don't need to have insurance at that time. You have to say a statement that you're willing or you're able to get the insurance threshold, the amount of dollar coverage that the city will require for the particular RFP you're applying for. So you don't have to have the insurance until or unless the city contracts with you. The city sends you a letter of award, say, okay, we'll negotiate with you, we'll have a contract for you to do these specific services. At that time, you'll be required to provide proof, okay, of insurance coverage with the threshold that the city requires, okay? You don't need insurance to apply or to respond to an RFP. You don't need insurance for your proposal, okay? You must tell us that you're willing, because you'll know by the time you apply for the RFP, you will know what type, what level of insurance that you will be needing if awarded. Once you get an award letter, city say, okay, we want to negotiate with you, then you have to provide insurance or proof of insurance in order to move forward in the process of awarding your contract. Okay. Evaluation criterion, okay, will vary depending upon the project, but the most common ones are as follows. Again, the RFP itself, okay, will tell you, okay, what the evaluation criteria are. Okay, here we're showing the most common one, which I spoke about in the prior slide, but these are the most frequent evaluation criteria. This is the things that the evaluators of your proposal are going to be looking at. Okay, as you see, number one, they're going to look at your qualifications. They're going to look at your current or past performance. Again, here we do, and this is, I must emphasize this, we do check references. Okay, before the city awards, enter into negotiations with you or awards the contract, we will check your references. Usually requires 3 references for any RFP responded to. So we do check your references. We do check how you perform in prior contracts. Okay. If the services that we acquired, again, let's go back to the example of the auditing services, requires that you have certification or licenses. If we want you to audit some of our programs, we want you to have auditors or accountants that are licensed or certified, whatever the state required, whatever the city, the state of Illinois will require for the professionals. Okay, we will require certification and license where professionals is required to have a certification or license. Okay. Number 2, again, here you give us a resume and the role of the people that are going to be working on the particular project, the dedicated resources to this project. Not your general firm, but people within your firm that are going to be required to work on the project. We spoke about the implementation plan. We spoke about the cost proposal, the MBE, WBE commitment. Here we have stated 25% and 5%, which is the usual amount, unless it's a specific program, could be higher, could be lower, of MBE participant in the particular project. I want to make a point here. You can always exceed those numbers. The city looks favorably at firms who can provide services with employees, with their employees that are MBE or WBE. Okay, so we always look favorably to vendors who can provide that for us. So even if a contract states or an RFP states that the goals are 25% MBE and 5% WBE, those are usually the minimum goal. Okay, you must have that, the required goals, but you can always exceed those goals, and the city will look favorably on a vendor that exceeds the goals that are required by an RFP. I spoke about financial statements. Number 6, I spoke about number 8, legal actions. Number 7, which is compliance with laws, ordinances, and statutes. In order for you to engage, in order for the city to engage in a contract with your firm, you must agree and you must be in compliance with all city laws, ordinances, and statutes. And that is standard. All city laws that are applicable to the service that you provided must be compliant with. You cannot comply with some laws and not other laws, comply with some statutes and other statutes. So all laws and statutes of the city must be complied with. Again, EDF certification, I spoke about before, is the form that tells the ownership structure of your firm, and that has to be certified. Conflict of interest, issue number 9. It basically means there should be no conflict of interest in order for the city to award a contract to your firm, meaning that you cannot be have I don't know, a family member that works for the city that that give you inside information. The conflict of interest and ethics rules are posted on the city general website. So conflict of interest means any conflict that might be between your firm and any city employee or any undue influence by city employee or elected officials in order for you to benefit from a competitive RFP. Some tips. Let's see. Read the entire document. You have to read the entire document. You have to follow the format and the content instruction. Okay. Don't assume that the city knows your firm. Even if you've been doing business with the city for 20, 25 years, when the city looks at your proposal, first we look at the specific response to the RFP. What you did 10, 15 years ago does not matter until the city goes to the point of checking your references. So don't assume anything. When you're submitting a proposal in response to the RFP, give us all the information required about your firm that's needed. Okay, do not assume anything. Okay. Now, after you receive or you've seen an RFP online, you decided you want to respond to the RFP, and you might have some questions to help you decide whether or not you should respond to the RFP. You have to put your question in writing, okay, to the procurement specialist who has published the RFP, whose name will be on the first page, on the cover page of the document. Okay, you send an email to that person and submit a question about the RFP. Not a phone call, okay, but an email. What is that? Why is that? It is because your question might be shared by others, so the city will publish then an addendum, okay? It will be posted with all the questions submitted. So all the vendors or all the potential respondents will have the same responses to the questions, okay? So the questions about the RFP, once it's published, before you respond, have to be in writing to this procurement specialist whose name and email address information appears on the front page of the document. Okay, being responsive means that all the requirements of the RFP, all the documents that you ask for, that are asked for on the RFP are submitted with the proposal. Okay, you're a responsible vendor, responsible respondent when you submit all required information and documents with your proposal. Again, if you ever have any question about a proposal, just contact the procurement specialist. They will be able to respond to you and say, okay, you can do this or you cannot do that. But, to be responsive, all the information and documents required must be submitted. Okay. Now, your cost proposal. Oftentimes, the cost proposals are required to be submitted on a specific format. Okay. What does that mean? You might be required to submit a comparison on a quarterly, monthly, or yearly basis. You might be required to break down your cost proposal. Why is that? Well, the RFP, in order to compare different proposals, we must have the cost proposal submitted in the same format. So if you're submitting your cost proposal in a quarterly format and someone else submitting in an annual format, it may be hard to compare those proposals. Someone else might submit it in, bi-weekly format. So your cost proposal is usually required to be submitted in the format that the RFP will specifically tell you which format to submit it. Okay? Be a responsible vendor. Before you respond to an RFP, you must be able to tell by reading the RFP and by asking questions whether or not your company has the ability and the capacity to perform the proposal's needs or the requirement specified in the proposal. Okay, if there's no point in going to the trouble of responding to an RFP and submitting a proposal which requires work if your company doesn't have the capacity or able to perform the services that are required. Okay, so make sure that your company has the ability and capacity to perform. If a mandatory requirement, avoid taking exception to the requirement. Okay, I think I mentioned that before. If the RFP requires, let's say, in order to, again, let's go to the auditing example, in order for the city to hire auditors based on the RFP, they require that the auditors or the auditing firm have at least 6 years experience in auditing public entities. If your firm only has 4 years experience, okay, in auditing city agencies or city programs, you cannot apply for this. You cannot take an exception saying, okay, I only have 4 years. If it requires 6 years, you must have the 6 years experience. Okay, avoid taking exceptions. It's a lot of work for your proposal to be rejected because you don't meet the specific requirement or you seek an exemption to the requirement because the requirements are posted for everyone. So no exceptions are allowed. Okay, exhibit forms. There's some specific exhibit forms that are required as part of the proposal submission. Again, they will vary depending upon the RFP. A company profile information is a specific form, about maybe 10 or 15 lines, that asks specific information about your company. Okay, name, location, state of incorporation, years of existence. Okay, the company profile information page asks the specific information for profile of your firm. Company references, client profile information. Here, okay, this is usually an exhibit form that asks you to provide references. In other words, clients, other companies, other people that you have served, that you've provided similar services. It don't have to be the exactly same services that the city is requesting, that you've provided similar services. Okay, we want those references. Usually, we require a minimum of 3 references, but we want references of other firms, other cities, other departments where you provided similar services than the one that you're applying for. Again, MBE, WBE, that's item 3, and or waiver. We have some specific rules about waivers of MBE, WBEs, and those are a little extensive to go into. But if we, for some reason, say the city is wants to purchase, puts out RFP for, I don't know, space scientists, and the RFP requires 25% and 5% MBWBE participation, and your firm can demonstrate that they could not find 25 or 25% or 5% WBE, you might be granted a waiver. It has to be requested. It's a case-by-case basis, and you might be granted a waiver for specific services or specialist services, which is particularly hard to find participants to comply with the MBE, WBE goals. These are very, very rare, but they are available. So that is where you get a waiver from. Again, we go back to the EDE here, number 4. Again, it's a form which you disclose to us, the city, your ownership structure, any retained parties, any other parties, or familiar relationship with elected officials, which goes to the conflict of interest issue. those information are required on an EDS form. And that's where we find the form at the particular site. Insurance certificate we spoke about. You're not required to provide one with your proposal. You're required to acknowledge that you know what the requirements are, that you're willing and able to get the insurance if awarded a contract, but they're not required during your proposal submission. They're required if and when you receive a letter of award from the city, and then you have to provide a certificate of insurance that shows the city that you meet the required insurance for the particular RFP. There's always also a sample, again, on the review city standard. There's always a sample of the contract that will be the vendor you'll be required to sign in order to perform the services for the city. So the terms and conditions are there as a sample when the RFP is published. So when you see the RFP on the website, there's sample PSA or sample agreement that if you're awarded a contract, you'll be required to sign that agreement. It's important that you see the RFP that's published and the sample agreement so you know what to expect, okay? It usually published with the RFP. You have to acknowledge, we spoke about that, I'll mention it again, any addendum that the city has issued from the time the RFP was published, any changes, you have to acknowledge that, usually on your cover letter, okay? Sometimes the RFP is published and there's some changes that are made, or maybe just extending the deadline for the RFP, revising the scope of services for the RFP. Those are issued addendum after the RFP is published, and you must acknowledge that you have seen those addendum at the time that you submit your proposal. Okay, e-procurement submission. As I mentioned before, the city is transitioning from paper proposal submission to online submission of RFPs and RFQ via e-procurement. Okay, I'm not sure, but I don't think we accept any paper proposals anymore. Don't quote me on that, but the overwhelming majority of RFPs are now being published online via e-procurement, so the responses must also be provided online. Your proposal must be submitted online. Okay, in order to do that, you must register in iSupplier, okay, to submit your electronic submissions to e-procurement. Okay, you cannot submit your proposals after the published due date. So when the RFP is published, okay, it tells you proposals are due maybe a month, maybe 2 months down the road. On that date, you cannot submit your proposal after that date. The system will not accept it. Okay, so make sure that first that you register an iSupplier, which is the city e-procurement computer system for contractors, ordering and payment information, and that you allow 3 business days to complete registration. Okay, because the information that you ask from iSupplier might take 3 business days to verify, but 3 business days for you to apply. So you must register and allow 3 business days to complete your registration. Okay, so if you're responding to an RFP or proposal you want to submit, and the proposal is due, I don't know, November 10th, okay, so you have to register an iSupplier at least by November 7th in order to be able to submit your proposal on time, November 10th, okay? 3 business days to complete registration. Again, you have to pay attention to the RFP instruction and submissions. Your cover letter must be signed by an authorized officer acknowledged in addendum issued. I spoke about cover letter again. Make sure you have a contact person there. And you should make a checklist, okay, of all submittal requirements that are required by section to verify completeness of proposal before submitting to DPS. Why is that important, guys? Again, it's a waste of time to go through all this effort on submitting and preparing an RFP, and then you miss the document or you don't have a checklist, okay, and then what happens is that your proposal is rejected, and we don't want that. Okay, we want to encourage as many of you to submit as many proposals as possible, but they have to be complete and timely done. Okay. All right. Here we are, submission resources. Okay. You can be viewed at the e-procurement RFP document can be viewed and downloaded using the following link. In other words, when we publish excuse me, an RFP, is available online, okay, on e-procurement. That link, you can go see RFP documents. Actually, you can just go see, so you can see what type of documents we publish or what they look like. If you're not familiar with them, you can go see them. For registration in ASAPI, we just spoke about, that's the link for ASAPI registration. Now, there's specifically addendum link. So what happens? After the RFP is published, okay, something changes. Scope of services changes. Anything that changes in the published RFP is issued as an addendum. And with the addendum site, what you do, you go there and put in the, there will be a number attached to the RFP number, and you can see if or how many addendums have been issued for a specific RFP. Okay, so that's what the addendum list is. Pre-proposal conference attendees. We do one better for you. We don't only ask you or invite you to attend the pre-proposal conference, which is a conference that takes place between the publication of the RFP and the due date. What does that do? It has all the interested vendors together virtually, and they will ask questions, and the city, the procurement person will present the RFP, will go through the RFP requirements, will go what's needed, will go with the deadlines, okay? And you'll have questions, you can submit written questions, okay, after the pre-proposal conference. And we also publish a list of attendees, so you can see everyone, every vendor who attended the conference. Again, that's another opportunity for you to actually network with vendors within your field of expertise who have attended the conference, who might be interested in applying or responding to the RFP. Okay? Take our list we spoke about, okay, from our website, which again tell you the vendors who have downloaded or taken out a copy of the published RFP who might be interested in applying. Workshops such as this one, okay, the schedule of all the workshops that the Department of Procurement Services provides, at that link, and there's a whole slew of information and documents, or instructional documents on the e-procurement website that you may have access to, again, and that's the link for it. Okay, here's the proposal evaluation and award. Here we're talking about RFP proposal set on the website, okay. No other information about proposal or evaluation available, except if there's an addendum, okay, that will also be posted on the website, okay, until the contract award. Okay, if we receive any Freedom of Information Act requests, okay, that are received or held until after contract award. In other words, if an entity, including yourself, want to exercise the Freedom of Information right to find out what happened in this particular RFP, you can request a Freedom of Information Act, but you will not be provided the information until after an award has been made. Okay? Excuse me. Same thing with debriefing meetings. Okay? If your firm was not the selected vendor for a particular award, you might want to have a debriefing meeting. I want to know what happened, what was wrong with your proposal. And those can be requested via in writing to the CPO, the Chief Procurement Officer. You send a formal letter. You mention you have the information about the RFP that you submitted and that you'd like to have a debriefing meeting, and then you can be scheduled for the debriefing meeting. Evaluation committee. The evaluation of your proposals usually takes place in two phases. One, preliminary proposal assessment. When the procurement specialist receives your proposal, the first thing that we do, we have a checklist, okay, which is whether or not you submitted everything that we asked for, whether or not you follow the table of content of the RFP. Okay, we did that. Okay, if you must be able to submit everything that we asked for, okay, in order to move to phase two. Okay, so phase two is a checklist. phase one is the checklist, okay, is the proposal responsive to the RFP. Phase two, once you pass phase one, you go to phase two. That's where your proposal actually goes to the evaluation committee who's going to read it, review it, score, and comment on your proposal, okay? Phase one is the checklist. Okay, this one's good. Then you go to phase two, where the evaluators actually rate your proposal. Based on the score of your proposal, okay, then the evaluation committee might decide, if necessary, to invite you, probably virtually, to provide a demonstration or presentation, okay, of your proposal, okay? We're on site visits lately, but that might also be necessary, okay? So it's three phases. Phase one, the checklist. Proposal is good, they answered everything. Then you go to phase two, where the EC actually rates the proposal. They give you a numerical scores usually, okay? And then after phase two, the EC may decide, okay, we want to hear more or see more of the vendor. You might be invited to phase three for demonstration or presentation, okay? Or in some cases, maybe even a site visit if necessary, okay? At that point, after the site phase three, the vendor selection and destination letters are sent to respondents, okay? So see, after phase two or phase three, you might receive a selection letter saying, okay, we like your proposal, okay? We want to invite you into negotiation. You don't get an award, okay? We invite the vendor, okay, the finalists or the selected vendor to negotiate under an RFP. You don't give an award, you negotiate, okay? Okay? And also the vendors who did not make it to the final stage, then they get a declination letter, okay, saying, thank you guys, we appreciate you, but we're going with highest rated vendor, okay, and we want you to stay in our system if you need, to continue applying, okay, and we do that. Okay, look at the last item on this page. Contract award is contingent on successful negotiation of terms, okay. The city is not obligated to award a contract, and the RFP may allow for multiple awards by single category or separate category projects. Okay, so an RFP might say we're going to award one contract for the services, or it might say we're going to the city might award several contracts under this particular project. Okay, or the city might decide, okay, we don't want to award anything to this project. Okay, maybe the budget has been cut. Okay, so that's what happened. Contract award contingent on successful negotiation of terms. Okay, this is also important because say the RFP says we're going to award one contract for this particular project. So, and the selected vendor, okay, negotiates and cannot come to terms with the city, cannot agree on the pricing, or any other issues happen, then usually what happens, the city goes back and go to the second highest ranking vendor, okay, or to the third highest ranking vendor, okay? So the city may go until they find someone suitable to the successful negotiation of terms and pricing to award a contract. That's why at the end of this process, you get an invitation to negotiate, not an award, okay? And in negotiation, you get a contract after the negotiations. Okay, I think we covered 2 topics today.
All right. You do actually have one question, and I will say if anyone else has a question, please put it in the Q&A now. But we have one question. Do you have to send in a signature page for all addendums with RFP responses?
No, unless the addendum specifies that. What you have to do is to acknowledge that you receive an addendum, okay? And the addendum will tell you whether or not you need a signature page, but you must, at minimum, acknowledge that you receive or seen the addendum or any changes that are to this particular RFP. Okay.
Any additional questions? I think there is one more. Can you submit documentation that may have been revised prior to the bid time after it's been submitted? If so, how do you do that?
Okay. The question that if the vendor can submit revised documentation?
Yes, it says, can you submit documentation that may have been revised prior to the bid time? So the vendor doing the revision prior to its bid, can I make a correction on it?
No.
After I've submitted it?
No. Once you submit your bid document, that's it. Okay? By the deadline, that's it. So to allow you to submit revised documents, like giving you a second bite of the apple. Okay? At the due time, date, and time of the bid, the document you submit, that is it. You cannot.
But this person is asking prior to the bid time being over. You haven't looked at the bid. I mean, you haven't selected the. Gone to the bid and bond room and gone over the bids.
Right.
Prior to that time, but I submitted mine. Can I change something on mine after I've submitted it?
If you submitted your bid early, can you?
Yes.
Basically, what you're saying, if you submitted your bid early, can you change? Can you revise it?
Correct.
I am not sure. I do not believe so. There will have to be some extraordinary circumstance, but I'm going to research that and get back to you. But I do not believe you can revise your bid once the bid is submitted. Whether or not you submitted early, I don't think that's possible. But I will research that, and please leave your name or your information, or you can send me an email. Or send,
right. If the person who wrote that one, if you would take down Milton's email address and send it over to him, and Milton, if you would just give your email address so they could have it.
Yes, it's Milton LeBlanc. It's MILTON .LeBlanc, LEB as in boy, LANC at cityofchicago.org. Okay, it's Milton.LeBlanc at cityofchicago.org. Okay.
Right. And on the first question where they were asking you, do you have to send in a signature page for all the addendums with the RFP responses? They're asking now, where on your cover letter are you supposed to put whatever the information is?
No, but you read the cover letter. It doesn't matter. It's a cover letter that originated from you. Okay, it will be addressed to the senior procurement officer that publishes the RFP. You can address it to CPO, but there must be a cover letter attached to your response. And within that cover letter, you tell us. Okay, you can make it the first paragraph, you can make it the last paragraph, or the middle paragraph. It doesn't matter. You tell us, my firm acknowledge receipt of addendums number 1, 2, 3 to the RFP. Okay. You have to say that you receive that you've seen the addendum. Okay, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where it appears in the cover letter.
All right, and the last one that I have in here is, if you missed a sheet prior to the time it is due, can I reopen the solicitation and resubmit? Is it locked? So I guess that's kind of part of the question that the person was asking before. Can we submit this after it's done? And I think we gave that answer. Once it's submitted, I'm almost sure it's submitted. You can't go back in it, even though you submitted it early. You can't go back in and put anything in it. But you can send that email to Milton, and he will look it up for you and see. If there are no additional questions, and I will give you a few minutes for those of you that are still typing something in right at the moment. If there are no additional questions, I want to thank Milton very much for imparting that information off to us and giving us some great information for today's workshop. I also want to thank the attendees for coming today. This was a huge class in the sense of we had over 30-something people attending this class. And I want to say to you, use the website, to find information. There are always places where you can click for if you need assistance and information from us at DPS. Even though we may not all be physically there, we will definitely, once we receive your email, we will get back to you. So I say to you for today, stay safe, stay well, put on your mask, social distance, wash your hands, and hopefully we will see you soon back at the City Hall, confines. We will see you back in there soon as we possibly can. So thank you so much for attending, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.